Ryan Day would love to have, 5 days in a rewind to prepare yet again for Michigan. Maybe it'll be the 5th year of the charm for Ryan Day. Look,
I did pray for Ryan Day's kids going back to school today. He talked about how this was Ryan Day to kind of set this up, Hutton, what we're about to get into. The week leading up to the game, Ryan Day on his coach's show said that this was on par. The losing streak to Michigan, this is before the latest loss, was on par to the death of his father. His dad died when he was 9 years old. And he said this has been the most difficult thing he's dealt with
in his life,
alongside the death of his father at 9. That's how bad this losing streak has been for him.
And, I mean, this past Saturday was even worse when you consider where Michigan is right now as a program compared to the previous wins over Ohio State and where they stack up. Chad, it was an epic college football weekend. You had flags planted due to some big victories that led to some big fights. And the big revelation is that Ryan Day, I mean, it's national championship or bust. We kind of knew this going into this season because, Chad, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. In college football, coaches are paid to fail. He would be owed $37 million in a buyout if Ohio State wanted to move on. But this is the bar. You've got to beat the team up north. And this was the team that Ohio State has with $20 million invested in NIL. And Jim Harbaugh's out west now. You've taken on Sharon Moore, and you don't have to take on the national championship winning Michigan Wolverines. Connor Stallions isn't there, although maybe he was.
He was somewhere.
Point being, this was a glaring loss for Ryan Day. Now, in year one of the college football playoff, we're going to have an awkward vibe because he's already received like the vote of confidence. He's got the backing of the university. Sure he does. They want to try to save the season by going and win a national title. They'll have to do that without the bye because Penn State takes over, and now Penn State takes on Oregon for the Big Ten championship. But the lasting image, in my mind, for Ryan Day, if they don't win the national title, is he's going to be moving faster out the door than he was on the field postgame, where his team, Chad, this whole rivalry weekend was awesome. But the visual of Ryan Day standing stunned while he has his leaders pissed off that Michigan is planting their flag on the Big O, where Jack Sawyer's pissed off and Day is just staring.
He's powerless.
Asking what's going on.
Can't say a word. Deer in the headlights the whole time.
No doubt. Pepper spray is being deployed. You have officers from the Ohio State campus, from the Michigan campus, police that were traveling with Michigan. You also have the Franklin County Sheriff's Office on the field as well. It was chaos that lasted about 4 minutes. But it's been 4 years for Ryan Day, and I think Ohio State will have had enough if he doesn't win the national title. That's crazy to think of in the first year of the college football playoff expanding to 12. But the problem is Ryan Day can't beat Michigan, even this Michigan team.
A bad
disaster.
Team. Bad team.
And yet again, Chad, they're pushed around.
Yeah, they were physically dominated. And here is Ryan Day talking about getting physically dominated and losing to Michigan again.
Seniors come back who said that the biggest goal was just to beat the team up north. What is the message to those guys right now? Just played very likely their final home game in this stadium.
Yeah, there's not much nothing you can say at this point. You got to take the ownership of it, and that's hard. And ultimately, it starts with me. And there's no words right now that can address any of that because of what they put into the program. And these are great guys who give unbelievable effort, and ultimately we just didn't execute well enough in this game. And
period against Michigan for Day. that answer, Chad, came towards the very end of the press conference. Now, when he goes to the podium, everything that had just taken place with the fight and pepper spray being deployed, just everyone running around, that's kind of the topic. But they asked him several times about how does this happen? And he is just, you would be at a loss for words, but he's struggling to even say that. He thought he had it. I bought into it this year too. I did.
Well, of course.
I mean, how could you not? But even
look
last
at both
year,
those teams throughout the year.
Look at
Ohio
last year.
State is so much better than Michigan.
Oh, look at last year with Sharon Moore taking over. Again, it's just...
They just needed to not screw it up at home.
Yeah.
This would be one thing if they were a two-touchdown favorite on the road where crazy things happen in road games. This was at home, at the Horseshoe, and they're a 23-point favorite. And there was no denying Ohio State is far superior to Michigan this year.
Yes.
Couldn't do anything. Could not do anything in this game, but turned the ball over. It was as surprising. I understand it's Ohio State, Michigan, and you can expect the unexpected, whatever. It was maybe the most surprised I've been since Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame early this season.
And you know what? We should have been surprised. They get pushed around by Michigan in the trenches. They did it again. They showed up and delivered. And then they planted the flag, or mimicked doing it on the turf, where the quarterback who outplayed the other was Davis Warren. And they're taking off, grabbing the Michigan. This is while Ohio State players are over next to I believe on the end zone.
They weren't on the end zone for long.
No, they turn around and they see this going on.
Turn around and sprinted to midfield and took the flag.
Here's Davis Warren post-game when asked about this.
What happened at the end, I can't speak for that, but we're going to win in your house and we're going to plant the flag. You should have done something about it.
Okay. Davis Warren. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. Win in your house and plant that damn flag at midfield.
That's right.
This is what we're going to do. I wonder if that was the pregame speech from Sharon Moore. We're going to go in there, we're going to win, and we're going to plant the flag.
We're going to plant the flag.
That's what we're going to do.
Now, 3 weeks
We're
earlier,
going to plant the flag in this turf.
The rivalries it was a great vibe and feeling across college football this weekend. And the flag planting, well, even the godfather of it was asked about. Here's Baker Mayfield.
Since many kind of consider you the OG when it comes to flag planting, what was your reaction to a lot of the flag planting we saw yesterday, and I guess maybe some of the pushback to that flag planting yesterday?
There were like 4, weren't there?
You know what? I'll say this: that OU Texas does it every time they play. It's not anything special. You take your L and you move on. College football is meant to have rivalries. It's like the Big 12 banning the horns down signal. Just let the boys play.
Let the boys play.
Let the boys play. And let the boys watch.
Yeah, no doubt.
Words of wisdom, words to live by.
Ohio State showed more fight post-game than they did during the game, Chad. And that was in the trenches. In a college football season where the discussion's all about name, image, likeness and pay for play and transfer portal. This was a throwback weekend, I felt like. Did you get the same vibe?
Yes, it was. It was absolutely a throwback to a simpler time where rivals in state or out of state hated their rivals, and you weren't worried about salary or how much NIL money you were making or anything else. Even though the guys for years have been making money, it was just not talked about as much. Let's go specifically to this, and then we'll branch out to everything that happened, because we don't have enough time in the show to break down everything that happened in college football this weekend, because it's a lot. This was Judgment Day for Ohio State. This was Terminator 2, baby. This was the Terminator at home about to destroy a lot of bad feelings. From Jim Harbaugh cheating with Connor Stallions to getting your ass kicked repeatedly by Jim Harbaugh, all because they were cheating. This is Sharon Moore in victory formation into the game, turning and waving at the end of it to Ohio State, saying, get out of your own house. We didn't have to cheat to do it this time, with a team that was terrible. This team couldn't play offense. Michigan It was as if Michigan, when they got within 15, 20 yards of the end zone, Hutton, it looked like they thought it was against the rules to do anything but line up a fullback and a tailback and run it up the middle repeatedly.
That's all they have to do.
They didn't, and they couldn't do it most of the game. They worked in the end, but this is how lame this Michigan offense was the entire game.
Yeah.
They just lined up and ran the ball up the middle. They didn't do much with it until the very end.
Well, that's what
there was no innovation. It wasn't even that hard.
No.
It wasn't like they had to run 18 trick plays to beat Ohio State in their house. $20 million is what Ohio State spent. $20 million on this roster. And now you're telling me they're not going to spend $37 million to get rid of Ryan Day? I think they will. I think they can, and I think they will at the end of the season. Now,
regardless of title,
Ryan Day could. They have to win it all. If they don't win it all, that's
it's
the
title or
stipulation.
termination.
Now, Ryan Day could help them out a lot and pull a John Calipari here and say, I don't like it anymore. It's ruining my family. I mean, he said it. This has been the hardest thing on my wife and kids that anything we've ever gone through is losing to Michigan. So, West Virginia may come calling. He may have a safety net. He goes and gets paid a lot of money to go somewhere else. I don't know. That's really letting Ohio State off the hook, though, because they owe you $37 million.
Yeah, he'll take it.
You could easily just wait back and have your agent talk to Ohio State and say, nope, you're going to pay the buyout, and then we're going to take a year off, and then go get any job we want after that. So he'll probably end up doing that. It's difficult for me to fathom how this could happen, how this Ohio State team, with all the expectations, played this Michigan squad that was just limping its way towards a 500 season. And they lost at home in this fashion. It's truly shocking to me.
Well, Michigan, it took a while, but they know that Ohio State's going to crack. They know the dam will break. Wear them down, play your style, and they'll fold. Lou Holtz was saying that. This is...
Wonder where Lou Holtz is right about now?
No doubt.
Probably laughing.
But, yes, I think he'll, the Calipari, that decision would happen had the buyout been lower, I think, for him. Take your buyout and take your time. And Ohio State's not in any rush either.
No.
They have Brian Hartline waiting.
Well, they also have to, at some point, I mean, Ryan Day sounded like he was dead post-game and looked like he was dead. I mean, you're going to have to move on quickly because you are going to be getting ready for a playoff game. So there's going to have to be a bounce back here from Ohio State. And, yes, they are still good enough to win it all. There's no truly dominant team you're looking at saying, how is anyone going to beat this squad in the playoff? There's a lot of teams that could win it, and Ohio State's one of them.
Yeah, that's just...
Now, let's get into the field, the flag planting, Flag Day across college football.
And how it spread across college football the way it did.
Yeah, it's like everyone was kind of watching and looking at their phones and saw what went on.
Even games that were going on in progress.
Yeah, they just decided. It's weird. It's like all of college football's on a group text that we're not privy to.
Yeah.
And they all decided on Rivalry Week that if you win on the road, you go and plant the flag. Because I don't see this being Baker Mayfield said it's always a thing with Texas, Oklahoma. And maybe that's the case, even though they're not, I don't know. Texas, Oklahoma, though, also, that's at a neutral site. So whatever.
Well, they surrounded at A&M. They surrounded the 50-yard line.
Right. But I'm saying Texas, Oklahoma, when he says that, that's neutral field. So whatever. Here's what I'll say about it. Ohio State's wrong, I think, to respond the way they did and go as nuts as they did. And I think Michigan is wrong. I do think there is some level of responsibility on the winning team to show a little bit of decorum. And you can celebrate all around, the stadium and do laps around and wave at the crowd behind you and do all that. But when you run out there, something might happen. But here's what I'll say to schools individually. I did not know the midfield logo was so precious to you. If this is the case, then allot some extra police officers to go surround it once the game ends, just like you would the field. Because I don't think somebody's going to go barreling through a bunch of cops if they're surrounding the midfield logo.
Well, they did.
If this is so important.
They tried to stop them, and then the dam broke them too.
After they got there. It wasn't like there was a wall of cops they had to run through.
The player that went and grabbed the flag, they attempted to stop him first.
Right. A cop did, and then the cops got in there and pepper sprayed everyone to break up the brawl.
What's interesting about that, too, is so you initially according to one of the reports that was on the field, Columbus Dispatch, initially it was, they say it was an officer from the Michigan campus that's traveling, part of the travel party, that looked like he was going to use the pepper spray. And then it was the Franklin County Sheriff's officer that sprayed it into the air and got things going after seeing that. Now, they're trying to assist each other, I think, in this moment. But it's interesting that you have the two different officers looking at each other. I just think about the showdown at the OK Corral.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. But, the sprayed in the air to get everyone out of there. I mean, this is less than 4 minutes. And the fight, I mean, again, like it's for all the watering down of college football because of the money invested in these TV contracts. The watering down has been, moving forward, it's going to be the rivalry weekends because, you're not going to play every team anymore like we're used to. We're keeping these, but even in the era where you feel like no one's really invested and they're not really, you don't know your team next year yet. Chad, I kind of love this. I love this. This is the passion that makes college football college football. They're not swapping jerseys at the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
And good. I prefer this over what I see on NFL Sunday, quite frankly. And I'm not trying to say I'm advocating for anyone to get hurt, but this outrage of, how dare the coaches not step up and do anything? And the quarterbacks here, they've got to, lead their team, or the players are to, come on. These former players that are now talking heads would go back in time and do the same thing because it means something. And it means something to Michigan. The defending national champions are 23-point underdogs against Ohio State, and they whip their ass again. So plant your damn flag. And then if you want to fight. Be dumb and punch someone wearing a helmet.
It's also a catch-22. Because I feel like Ohio State, when they go after them for doing it, then it's, then now Ohio State, you're bitter. Hey, handle it during the 60 minutes you had during the game and stop fighting us now. We get to plant our flag here. But then there's Ohio State people, I'm sure it'd be like, look at you lifeless people allowing this to go on your own field while you walk off the stadium.
That's
you
fair.
Get into this whole thing about, what should I do in this situation? It's like protecting your teammate if he gets hit late. One jumps into the fight, then, this is a DBAT moment for your program to go out there. It's just, I'm glad no one got stomped or anything. We've seen worse brawls, Michigan State, where that happened. I saw a couple guys on the ground, and I was fearful that they were about to get stomped by about 15 players when they hit the deck, and you don't want to see that. Again, it's on stadium management at some point. If this is now a thing, and you're telling me with all these various incidents over the day, if you want to go out there and plant your flag and you avoid a brawl, fine. Go out there and celebrate. The losing team can walk off. They can lick their wounds in the locker room. You can have prima nocta on the entire field while they go in the locker room for the post-game presser or whatever you want. If this is now the standard and this is a thing, then I think that stadiums are going to have to start putting security around midfield, and they're going to have to go shoulder to shoulder in riot gear and hold off football teams from putting a flag down if they don't want to see a brawl happen.
I mean, I don't know.
So it's all about what you want now.
I don't know how many officers they need out there with these different,
Oh, I know, but none of them were doing what I'm saying.
Well,
they're going to have to go out there the way they stand around the field. They can't stop 100,000 people from running out.
Well, that's not but that's not going to happen because it's only happening for the visitor that comes in and wins.
Yeah. Now, Steve Sarkisian's the big winner here because he kicked Texas A&M's ass on the road.
Yeah.
And showed why he has a dominant defense. And he got his own guys off the field. They started to run out, and he was the one out there saying, no, go. Let's go in the locker room and celebrate. Let's go over here and stop them before they did.
But the security was out there, too.
Yeah.
And, I mean, again, the Aggies are weird about their turf anyway. Stepping on the hash mark whenever we were there. It's different. But this weekend felt different, too. I mean, cool. And a $100,000 fine. I mean, again, that's just optics. That's all. Herb Street wants to suspend players for anyone that's involved in the fight. I want my team putting up a fight, quite frankly.
Which honestly is kind of weird because you'd say like, oh, that's his Ohio State in him coming out, but that would
deter it.
That would negatively affect Ohio State more than Michigan.
But if
you wanted to find people who had the biggest hand in the fight, Jack Sawyer would be, suspend. Jack Sawyer would be suspended for a playoff game.
Yeah, but
he's maybe the best defensive player for Ohio State.
No doubt. But it wouldn't be retroactive, of course. But yeah.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. The Big Ten's not going to do that because they're not going to cost themselves a chance at winning a playoff game.
It's the same reaction that we had for the field storming, and the court stormings. Like it lasts for a little bit, and then they're right back promoting the pageantry. They're not going to show someone who runs on the field in the middle of a game. But how many times have you seen the brawls that took place this weekend in highlight packages? It's all over the place. They love this.
I do like how the highlight packages, every time I watch all the.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for highlight shows. I watch all of them, college and NFL.
It's another
every week.
throwback.
I record all of them. I love watching the hour-long college football final on ESPN or NBC Football Night in America that shows all the highlights.
Yeah.
I love all of them. My new favorite pastime now is all of these fights that happen. It's like 45 seconds to a minute and a half of highlights with great upbeat music playing behind the highlights. Then it goes silent. Now, after the game, we do need to inform you that there was a fight on the field, and it's just silence as they show the brawls after the game.
Yep.
Like someone died.
Here's
I kind of laugh at those.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean that's the thought behind it. Again, every time it's on, I'm glued to it.
Yeah.
Again, I miss that. The fact that people care that are playing on the field. I don't want everything to be the NFL.
Yeah. I will say this is kind of a beggar's kind of being chooser situation for me. I want someone who's been there the whole time to be the one either that's trying to plant the flag or fighting the people that are trying to plant it. And Jack Sawyer's one of those for Ohio State. I don't want to be like a fifth-year grad transfer that this is their third school that's leading the charge. Hey, we just beat our rival. Let's go plant the flag. Like, dude, you've been there less than a year.
Right.
That's what I don't want to start seeing is the guys who just come in as rent-a-players for these programs. And I'm not saying that should not happen in an open transfer portal era. Those guys can go play wherever they want.
Right.
I just don't also want those guys to be the ones that for our state and our country and our God, we will now plant the flag like Tom Cruise and Far and Away in the end. We will declare it for Ireland or Michigan or Ohio State at midfield. Let's get somebody that's been there 5 years at the same school that's going to lead the charge to do that. And if somebody's going to fight somebody over it, let it also be someone that's been there 4 or 5 years at the same school.
Like hockey.
That truly hates that program.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Jack Sawyer's voice in that video we played.
Yeah.
Where he's effing the entire program of Michigan and those guys. And you can feel the emotion and the heartache from Jack Sawyer in that, right?
Absolutely.
That's someone who is committed to the Ohio State University and to hating Michigan forever. That's the sound in his voice coming out.
And he knows what it means to win and lose.
Yes.
To Michigan. Like the feeling of.
Does he know what it's like to
No,
beat
I'm saying
them?
like the
I don't think he's beat
the
them.
mindset of the motivation to beat them.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's what Ryan Day's feeling.
He's 0-4.
I guess that's what Ryan Day's feeling inside. I don't know. But again, the dazed and confused, stunned look. What's going on? Asking that question. It's just I think that was perfect with the way that was filmed because you have Sawyer doing that and you have Ryan Day just staring, watching.
I'm excited to get Bobby Carpenter emotional over this because he is someone who knows about this, right? Jack Sawyer is a fourth-year senior from Pickerington, Ohio. Like, that's the guy that I can understand going and ripping up the Michigan flag.
But, yes.
I don't want the fifth-year grad transfer from some other place.
But this is exactly why we didn't want rivalries to go away.
Oh, no doubt.
Get rid of them if you want to stop this. This isn't going to happen. The brawl for all. There's someone, Chad, in your theory, you want the fifth-year guy to plant the flag. That's awesome. But it literally everyone was out there fighting. And so I mean, I want to see this more.
Ryan Day wasn't, but everyone else was doing
he was
something.
watching.
Everyone's trying to either get guys off of other guys or fighting.
I mean,
except for Ryan Day.
If for those that are like, this is, I mean, it's not good. I mean, it's not great for the sport.
It's abnormal. I mean, these games happen every year, and we're not talking about 5 different flag plantings that caused a fight every single year.
But this is exactly why you cannot get rid of the games that have mattered for decades and going back a century. You just can't. Because of this. Because you hate the opponent. You're not going to... No, I don't want to see jersey swaps, autograph signings. No. I want more of this angle than the other. Now, we can also see boat race games. We saw those too.
Yeah, it's a bit of nostalgia.
Okay.
In that it's fun to see how much it matters to the players.
Another example.
In a time where a lot of people think, the college spirit doesn't matter as much because they get paid.
Look at Florida State, though, the season they've had and what we saw there.
I was shocked. On both ends. I'm thinking, Florida, you just beat one of the worst teams in all of college football, and you're planting a flag. And then I was shocked that Florida State showed signs of life and fight in them for the first time in a while and went after them.
This is like the last visual evidence we have that sound like Jameis Winston, that the logo on your helmet matters. This is it.
It's also the last visual evidence we have that the 2024 Florida State team existed.
Yeah, you're right.
At all. That it actually happened.
But because
these are the images we'll be
Gators
left
and
with.
Seminoles, they're going to go
this
at
season happened.
Now, can you imagine a brawl with Texas and A&M if that would have happened? I'm saying because of the flag planting.
A couple of observations over the weekend on other games, and we can roll through all of these. It was very odd how Joe Tessitore was damn convinced throughout the broadcast that Georgia is 1,000% in the playoff. I've never seen an announcer go away from the percentage chances and just consistently repeat. If Georgia scores on this 2-point conversion, they have punched their ticket into the college football. If they get a stop on this play, they have punched their. And I'm thinking, they still got to play the SEC championship, and if they lose by 45, are they still in?
You
know what the answer is to me in that? Yes. Because Joe Tessitore is a smart guy. He's not saying that unless he knows that the championship Saturday does not matter.
Well, I think we know, based on what we're told, what we think we know, is that the loser in these championship games, especially Big Ten and SEC, it's not going to be detrimental to you.
Yeah.
But we don't really know that until we see it. That was Kiffin's complaint. That's why you didn't want to play in the game. And so there is that confusion and the uncertainty of it. But I think the uncertainty is exactly what ESPN wants, because they want the drama of you can't lose this game, this extra game. So they're creating this buzz about, if Georgia goes and loses, what's going to happen to the Bulldogs?
Are they?
I mean, Tessitore is the only person saying that.
I don't think anybody is. That's what's so weird about it was I would be saying that. I'm the one who's thinking.
Tessitore's the only one saying it, is my point.
Well, Tessitore's saying they're definitely in with that win over Georgia Tech.
That's what I'm saying.
So, but
he's the only one admitting that they're going to be in the game next week doesn't matter, is what Tessitore's saying. That's they don't. SEC does not want that.
I don't know.
They want that game to matter.
I think he wants. Here's what the SEC wants. They want 2 teams that have desperately tried to get in that game, that want to get in that game no matter what, and for there to be no negative consequences of that game. That's what they want. They want the winner to get the bye, and they want the loser to be free of all consequences from the playoff committee. And what Joe Tessitore of ESPN is telling me is that is 1,000% the case.
This is what they want. They want A&M in that game.
Because he eliminated all stress or all intrigue about Georgia with the college football playoff ranking this week.
Yes, but you couldn't say that about A&M. So you would get the extra SEC team in if A&M won. And Tessitore's saying that Georgia, regardless, they're in. So you get the extra team in. Texas would still be in. Tennessee would still be in. And you lose that debate about, or is it going to be 4 or 5? You go back to the extra team again. That's the best case scenario. Is you have one team who needs to win, and the other one is not. At any point, the loser's not going to. It's not going to hurt you. But A&M would have to win it to get in.
Yeah, I think the game's going to be good between Texas and Georgia.
So.
But I mean, if you're down 17-0 and you're Georgia, if I'm listening to Joe Tessitore, I'm pulling all my starters out and I'm resting up for the playoff.
Tessitore's quick to call games over too.
A little bit excited. You got a little bit excited with that one.
There was one recently where he
that
by the way,
terrific game. Georgia Tech, unbelievable atmosphere, everything. The other observation from the weekend. I liked it, but I thought it was very odd how they had the closed captioning for that fight song for Texas A&M.
Yeah, that was
during the Open.
Yeah,
with like the ball bouncing over it and all the words to it.
And they were pushing that all day. McAfee was mentioning it on game day about sawing the horns off.
Yeah, I never knew that. That's what they were simulating. And we've been to a midnight yell before. Maybe I've heard that and just didn't. It didn't stick.
But I didn't know what they were. I didn't know there was always. I thought it was just like a practice thing that they did.
The only part of that song I know is "The Eyes of Texas
I know
Are
they do
Upon You." That's the only part I know. When I hear them sing that, I know that.
I didn't know the swing.
I don't know anything else. I liked it. The atmosphere. That was fun.
Chad, it's a lot like College Station.
Yeah.
You're told it's a cult.
Yeah.
But when you're there, you like it.
Yes.
But it's still weird.
Also,
whenever you leave the atmosphere, you're just like, what was that? I like that you pointed that out because it was strange.
It was very odd. And Texas A&M, that's an amazing atmosphere. It's a great stadium. It's a weird but emotional and energetic fan base that are all very nice people that I've met. And that team consistently underperforms at home for that crowd. Do. That was a nothing game. That was nothing.
Yeah,
they did nothing. If not for that weird batted ball kind of tipped interception pick six, they weren't going to score. Texas dominated them defensively. I think it's more about
Texas.
Texas's defense is great.
And Quinn Ewers on the road is a big game player on the road. So neutral field, we'll find out. But on the road, think about the wins he's had.
So
Michigan.
No doubt.
And Bama.
That was a defensive win, though. I'm not even thinking about Quinn Ewers. He made some good throws, but that was Texas defense.
He wasn't the detrimental player that he's been at home games.
Arch Manning had a great play, the first touchdown run.
Yeah.
3 SEC teams are definitely in. Texas, Georgia, Tennessee. They're in. There's no doubt about it. Joe Tessitore would also confirm the other two are definitely in right now. Georgia has the highest ceiling of those 3 teams. Texas and Tennessee have the best defense. They're better defensively than Georgia consistently throughout the year. Haynes King lit up Georgia at home on Saturday night. Every statistical category, Texas, number 1, Tennessee, number 2 in the SEC, and they're both top 5 or top 10 in every category. I don't think anybody's sleeping on the SEC. I wouldn't sleep on Texas or Tennessee in the playoff for that reason. I could see either one making a run and winning it all. Georgia has the highest ceiling still. So
I like Tennessee.
We all know
home.
Georgia could do it.
Yeah. Georgia's consistent with this, and I don't know of any other program that I'm confident in. I'm betting this. If they get down, they're coming back. They did it against Bama. They didn't win, but they pulled off a hell of a comeback in that second half.
Yeah.
And then they did it again this past week.
And they did it against Tennessee to an extent. They were down 10-0. Second quarter of that game.
Whatever Kirby does at halftime, because he did it against Bama, because they mentioned this, they're like, I wonder what Kirby's going to say. I'm like, well, the same thing that they've already done. Now, they didn't win the game, but you get down by that, it's hard to come back.
If I am Brent Key, I am livid in the official's ear for Kirby to shut the hell up to the official. It is insane how much leeway he is given to have a constant dialogue with the entire officiating crew. There was one time I saw Brent Key come out and curse out running onto the field to play the game. Now, he was calling his timeouts that he could do. In overtime, you get the one timeout. He used all of them to set up his defense to see it. That they shouldn't allow a timeout every two-point conversion.
Right.
He was using it. But even in between everything, it's a conference call. It's like he's a part of the committee and he's getting all the officials over and talking things through. That is one thing that if I'm the opposing coach on the opposite side, would set me off. And I'm surprised Brent Key wasn't more pissed off about it.
Chad, Tennessee Vandy. There's another example of a comeback.
14-0, and Tennessee did about everything wrong you could think to do in the first quarter.
That was exactly what Tennessee fans were talking about with the battered Vols syndrome.
Yep.
that start.
Full range of emotions.
Opening kickoff.
That first quarter is why battered Vol syndrome exists, and the final 3 quarters is why Josh Heupel may be beating back battered Vol syndrome forever.
Do you think they'll get a home game? I've got them at 8 in my bracket. That was the elite top 12.
I'm skeptical. I looked today at what the old BCS rankings with the computer, and they would have Ohio State 8, Tennessee 9.
Okay.
I'm just I understand Tennessee's got a historically rich program, and they draw eyeballs too and all this stuff, but Hutton, I just feel like tie goes to Ohio State, tie goes to Notre Dame, tie goes to Alabama. Some of these programs that have been –
we'll find that out for sure.
Yeah, I think Ohio State will get the home game. But, hey, great performance. I thought after spotting Vanderbilt 14 points, Tennessee played as well as they have all year.
Yes.
Nico Iamaleava especially, that's as good of a performance as I've seen. He had the bad pick early, underthrowing a deep ball, but outside of that, he was great. Huge win for the Vols. And that, to me, that's kind of how you end the battered Vol syndrome thing for a long time, is you do everything possible to lose a game, and then for the final 3 quarters, you just dominate. And they won with very little suspense. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, that wasn't a game. They were in control of the game.
They're playing well at the right time.
Yeah.
So everything's good there. Again, I like them at home. I like Texas on the road. So
I never thought I'd say this too, Hutton, but I'm kind of ready for Lane Kiffin to be quiet right now.
Yeah, but I've got his back on this with who chimed in.
I do too. Yeah, there's no question about between the two.
This is when we expand again. This is not really a huge issue for Lane Kiffin, but it is this year, and he knows he's going to miss out because he's going to have to jump 2 teams that he's lost to, Bama and Georgia. They're going to be ahead of Ole Miss among the teams with the same amount of losses, and he pushes this out. Now, it's very detailed. I mean, it's
Ole Miss has not played Bama.
South Carolina.
Yeah, the debate is
South Carolina would have to jump.
As Kiffin says, why do we even? At one point, he said, "Why do we even play the games?"
South Carolina would have to jump. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, because they won easily at South Carolina.
Yeah, so they would have to jump Ole Miss and Bama. That's what I'm getting mixed up on. So here's Kiffin. After all the chaos yesterday, there looks to be 3 bubble teams fighting for the last remaining playoff spot. Maybe talk to Joe Tessitore. All 3 are 9-3, represent the SEC. Carolina lost to both of them. I mean, this is lengthy, but he's got, like, he's, just sending out his own message here. I guess the committee will put this on
Ole Miss and Alabama's best win is against Georgia. Georgia beat Clemson 34-3. Ole Miss has 9 wins. They outscored their opponents plus 296. Alabama outscored them plus 252. 3 losses. Ole Miss was outscored minus 13. Alabama was outscored by more. Both beat Georgia. Rebs won by 18. Bama won by 7. Both beat South Carolina. But clearly, Ole Miss should be in the playoff over Alabama, is his argument.
So I think Ole Miss is a better team than Alabama, but it's not going to matter. The committee's already told us, right? They nearly lost to Mississippi State.
If I had to order it right now, I'd go. This is just I test what I think the teams are right now. South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss.
I put Carolina
in that order.
Because again, we went through like how they put together the bracket. They're told to, not most deserving, best team. I put South Carolina ahead of them. Best team right now. They've got 3 top 25 wins?
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, but the committee, I think we focus too much on the number of losses. So here's Bielema, by the way. Brett Bielema chimes in. He's planting his flag. Couldn't agree more, Lane Kiffin. Here's a thought for the college football playoff. Now you guys get to Ole Miss, 31 strength of schedule, 3 losses to unranked Kentucky, Florida, 8-4 LSU.
Where's everyone getting their strength of schedule rankings to? Because I've seen about 15 different ones.
Whichever one's the best for them.
Yes, I've seen some people claim that Tennessee's is 49th.
What?
Strength of schedule, and then others 14th. I mean, this is how I'm saying there's a big discrepancy in some of the strength of schedule rankings that people are putting out there.
Illinois has...
We need a universal strength of schedule ranking.
30 strength of schedule. 3 losses to Oregon and Penn State and 1 possession game to Minnesota. How about we just take the best 12 teams and see where it goes?
Well,
Okay,
it's so
let's do that.
It's so wild to me
You're both be
because
out.
Hutton, I went on a radio show in Erie, Pennsylvania today, and guess what the topic was? Penn State football and Big Ten football.
SEC
and the
bias.
first question I was asked was, hey, you're down in the SEC. Let me ask you this question. How on earth are you claiming 3-loss SEC teams should be in over 2-loss Big Ten teams? Hell, even Tennessee lost at Arkansas. You want to be secure in the playoff? Don't lose to Arkansas. My response was, well, how about don't lose to Michigan at home if you're Ohio State? If you want to start comparing, losing at Michigan at home is worse than losing at Arkansas if you're Ohio State versus Tennessee. Here's the deal. Everyone's got warts that we're talking about here. And Lane Kiffin consistently will not acknowledge his biggest wart. They lost at home to a 4-8 Kentucky team. At home. This was not at night on the road in a raucous environment. This was an 11 a.m. kickoff at home, and they lost to a 4-8 Kentucky team. And that is the dark shadow that hovers over them more than any other team. Because Alabama doesn't have a loss that bad. South Carolina does not have a loss that bad. Ole Miss has the worst loss of this group. That's the problem I have.
But not by much. The Oklahoma team was pretty bad.
Yeah, but at least they lost at Oklahoma. I give a lot of credence to losing on the road. Now, getting blown out by Oklahoma makes it almost as bad.
Yeah.
It's not like they lost a close game to Oklahoma. I'll side with you there.
Yeah, and by the way, Kiffin's smart to do it this way. This is how the committee would do it. Because by the time they get to this group, it's a pot of 4 teams that they're comparing at a time. So this is, I guess, how they certainly have their own method of finding out the strength of schedule. You know, we went through the pods there. It's nothing like this, which is just kind of news and notes. And every team could do this.
I
This
like
is a
personality.
SID.
I like the back and forth, whatever. Like, say your piece. But, man, this is just a time of year where I wish these coaches just shut up and let the playoff committee kind of do their work on this.
No doubt.
Illinois has had a great season for Illinois.
Yeah.
They've got a good resume, okay? They also lost 38-9 to Oregon. They beat Rutgers by a touchdown. They lost at home to Minnesota. It's just, when we get down to the 3-loss teams, and even in some respects the 2-loss teams, we are picking nits between some pretty bad moments mixed with some good to great moments.
How about Ole Miss and Illinois in the Music City Bowl?
Let's settle it on the field.
Yeah, just play.
Let's
plant your flag.
Winner plants the flag at midfield on a 28-degree day here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Final thought. This is also the detriment of the 12-team playoff because no one cares about any of the other bowl games. The possible achievement of going out with, I know Dion does. But I'm saying, it's like 12-team playoff or bust.
Yeah.
And, then you'll put up a fight.
There's going to be a lot of walk-ons playing in these bowl games, some of them.
Yeah.
Guys you haven't heard their name all year going to be starting at outside linebacker.